It might have been Thanksgiving, but the only thankful Spartans were the ones who bet their mortgage on over 4.5. So we've got some thoughts, and it's time to air some grievances. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined, as always, by the guy with the bit, Kevin Greck, the guy with the bite, Alex Plum, and the guy who has a little of both, Matt Sheehan. Gentlemen, Matt, it's great to see you. How are you all doing?
Sensational. I'm sorry this is a step down from Graham Couch, but I'm going to try my best. I will try my best. I won't blame MSU missing a bowl game on the fans, Graham. That's right. I won't do that here today. No, I love Graham. He's good people.
I think Aiden Giles must have seen that tweet and been like, I'm going to double down on this.
Yeah, been like, hold my 19-year-old beer. Let's go. Let's go to Windsor. Hold my beer. Let's go.
Yucky. Is there a field house in Windsor?
I don't want to start yelling yet, so I'll handle this part.
Well, of course, we want to thank everyone for listening. If we could ask a small favor, please share the pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod, Blue Sky at SpartanPod, and of course, check out our YouTube channel. Comment, subscribe, whatever you're supposed to do there. We got a lot to get into, gentlemen. There were some games played. At this point in time, the Rutgers game doesn't really matter because other than the consequence of it. Maui feels like forever ago. Women's basketball is rolling, and hockey is doing more winning. We're going to chat about those things, maybe try and find some things to be thankful for in the spirit of Thanksgiving before we unleash grievances, and there are aplenty. And then, of course, we've got a few things off Grand River. We've got Minnesota preview, and we thank you all for your submissions of questions and grievances that we will be getting to at the end of the show. So with that, let's get into the green wall and talk some football. Rutgers curb stomped us. A 41-14 loss on senior day at home. I don't know that there's anything that was maybe a representation of the season. Then when it mattered, they just couldn't get it done. Thoughts? Anyone?
Can I just ask, before we really get into this, how many of the seniors who played had been on the injury list 3 or more games this season? Is there a record? Is there anyone keeping track? I'm legitimately curious. I have some anthrax to start mailing to people.
Some surplus.
Have a sense. Not to them, but
I think on this particular thing, you might be. It might not be the seniors that you really. Juniors, however, I think you'd find yourself in a good spot.
All right, noted.
But it was. There are names on that list of folks who are leaving that I think we would be sad to see go. Jordan Turner was a very good to find linebacker.
He tried on senior night. Yeah.
Yep.
Points to him.
We probably think that K'Ron Lynch-Adams and Nate Carter are serviceable Big Ten running backs at worst, right?
Yeah.
Nate Carter, we did see get better at catching the ball. He is a reason, in fact, that we didn't go to a bowl game because he couldn't catch that.
Oh God!
Right there,
any ball. Yeah.
So I don't know. There's some seniors that we'll miss. At one point in time this season, I thought we'd miss Chris Bogle, and then I didn't hear his name called.
And then October started. Yeah, right. And then Prairie View A&M walked off the field, and then that was that. So
ends up he's not a fan of spooky season. Matt, what you had proxies in the stands? Any of
actually no. This is like the biggest indictment on the season right now. Is that I told you guys before recording, my parents were both there. They left at halftime. I got a string of texts from my dad. I've never seen him more angry in my entire life. And I've had some colossal slip-ups in my youth.
And you have disappointed him in several
with
ways.
a capital D, Greg. Yeah, there's been some trying times in the Sheehan household in my youth, but alas, you know what could even dig a thorn in his side even further? Jonathan Smith not talking to any player on the sideline. That is completely irritated my father to no point. But the real indictment is that my 83-year-old grandma, she has season tickets, has had them for decades. She goes to every game, never leaves games early, even the 2017 game against Maryland. She was one of 6 people in the stands at the very end. We thought of bringing her to a hospital to get her psych evaluated, but no, she's that big of a fan. And guys, you know where I'm going with this. She left at halftime of this game too.
To the road.
You lose Grandma Pat. You might as well board it all up. And yeah, no, this is not good, guys. The Grandma Pat meter has tanked, and
it's never been this bad. The Grandma Pat
it's never
meter,
been this over. And she's seen some hot dog water teams. Bobby Williams there went to every game. John L. Smith went to every game. And here we are. So I'm panicking. I wasn't until I heard that she left with my parents at halftime, and I thought, oh, maybe this isn't going to work out at all, guys. Yeah. So that's how I'm going to make it all about myself. But that's what we're looking at here. It's dire. It's dire.
There is truly no heat in this program right now, trying to rally for a year or two. Like
it's crazy.
This does feel kind of all-time low in my fandom as well, where 2021 is a distant memory at this point. It's 3 seasons now without a bowl, and there is no light at the end of this tunnel, I don't think. The guys that we're really invested in, as we understand it here on the podcast, NIL-wise, are not producing yet at the level that they're being compensated. The recruiting class, Matt, as you've covered on your podcast, Lockdown Spartans, last
top
week.
65. It's top 65. We're looking good.
And today, the guy that we keep being told is the best recruiter on the staff and a Spartan, Coach Meat, leaves. Probably, you guys think, best recruiter on the staff, guy from the West Coast. He's probably going somewhere hot, right?
Made Chuck Brantley not look like a mannequin for a season.
He's probably got a pretty cushy gig. He's probably going to UCLA. He's taking a gig at UCLA over his alma mater right now. It does not look good.
Yeah, that's bad.
Is that the school from LA?
I'll have to go back.
He's
to
going
to
to work for that guy.
Oh. Yeah. He's got to feel the elephant in the room immediately, though, right? Like maybe that's it. Maybe Smith is behind the scenes too much of a big dog, and he pushes him around too much. So Coach Meat says, you know what, that Foster guy over UCLA, I could alpha him day one. That's got to be the sole reason, right?
That's probably it.
Well, but let's talk about what it is. I mean, not that any of us know for sure, but fuck me. This might go to your grandmother's point, Matt, which is this is a contextually different world. This is a different galaxy. I mean, this is just insane. We can't look at developing the 60 guys that are not graduating. They're going to be, we can't even look at developing them. They could all fucking hit the road tomorrow. Yeah. There's no wait. There's no guarantee. There is no development anymore. If you don't have money to buy the guy, there's nothing. So, yeah, 3 years without a bowl, Greg, you're absolutely right. And I don't know what you point to be hopeful, but can you blame Meat for wanting to get the fuck out of East Lansing where there's nothing happening? And if your whole life is just, I got to find guys out of the portal, and you have no NIL of which to draw from with any real meaning, you're hamstrung. And then there can be no positive success. So then you're in this horrible feedback loop. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're good, then go somewhere where they're going to pay you and give you the resources to build it. And UCLA has the money, theoretically. So West Coast, certainly not the best coast, but there's resources at play. And it's a shame because we have the resources. They're just not being allocated.
Would you rather end your season in an empty stadium, 19 degrees, snowing sideways, no palm tree in sight? Or would you rather end your season Empty stadium. Palm
Empty
trees in sight.
stadium.
About
Correct.
72 degrees. Like
Correct.
Closer to your family. Like it is completely irritating that he left. The family thing took me aback here. I know we talked about it a little bit before we recorded. It was not him.
Could you share this
from there
with the listeners? Yeah. Could you?
Yeah. Apparently his family's
radar.
from there, and like his kids are still there. I believe he has parents there. And apparently, Greg over there, Mr. Lansing area native, he's bought up all the housing in Lansing, so the guy couldn't even move here if he wanted to. It's just a no-win situation here for Michigan State.
When I went full, what's the name of the guy in It's a Wonderful World? It buys up all the houses. It's a Wonderful
BlackRock?
Life.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, BlackRock. I went full BlackRock. That's what it is.
That was a guy's name. Yeah.
It didn't occur to me that I was going to push our best recruiter out the door to UCLA.
Thanks
I will admit. I thought I was just hurting regular people. I didn't know that I was also hurting people that were important that I cared about as well. So that's my mistake, and I will let it happen again. I'll continue to do it. Should we table the NIL thing for a minute? We can come back to that, but I think my biggest concern right now is Plum's point about the transfer portal. Like, it's about to open. It's going to open in less than 2 weeks. I anticipate that we're going to see a substantial surge out of the program. And given what we've seen this staff bring in so far, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, the transfers haven't been spectacular yet. I mean, you can't rely on another Kenneth Walker to walk back through the door. But I mean, the up-leveling via the transfer portal, I kind of think they're 0 for 1 right now. So it's going to be another big roster turnover year. Plum, you're right, where maybe we see some improvement year to year for the guys that stay. But I don't know, guys. I'm concerned about this.
Sorry.
Can I float? Can I float?
Sorry.
No, this is my fault for bogarting all this time. Can I float a theory, though? We're throwing all the conventions about college football out of the window. Can I submit a convention that might be worth throwing out the window?
Yeah.
Bowl practices matter for a team like ours. Could it be that it's more important that the staff is able to focus on the roster, able to focus on what's available in the portal, and able to focus on recruiting? We did get a recruit today, which I don't know if we'll talk about or not. But is it possible that where the program is at right now today, actually the season ending right now isn't the end of the world, and they can focus on things that'll be more impactful for the program in the long term?
Yeah, I think from a coaching perspective, that might be right. From the one perspective that probably matters the most, which is recruiting, ending by getting your absolute teeth kicked in at home on senior day in front of a bunch of recruits at a stadium that was completely fucking empty. Yeah, maybe good for the coaching. Can't say it's great for the recruiting. No one wants to be a part of the, I don't know what this is, not goodness. So I don't know. Yeah.
Luckily, though, there were no recruits. Oh, this is so mean. Luckily, there were no recruits of like substance. That is the most I can possibly say. These are 17-year-old kids just trying their best to find a program. But like, it's not like we had blue chippers up and down the sidelines.
Fantastic.
Like by and large, we're their only Power 4 offer. So like, yeah, I'm sure they look at all 23 people right in the face in the fourth quarter, being like, "Yeah, I found my home. This is great. I love it here. This is a big school." It's not Toledo. It's not Miami, Ohio. We're coming here. So it's just it's so bad. There's no sizzle on this program. How is it possible to be a new hire and have this little sizzle on a program? I'm shocked. I shouldn't be, but I'm shocked.
We should talk more about the stands, but I'm curious, Sheehan, because you were not much farther behind us at State. But did you have Thanksgiving games?
Yes. And this is what drives me crazy, because this will be a dialogue that happens every year. That 2017 game, that was an 8-3 Michigan State team going against Maryland to get to 9 wins, a big bowl game potentially. completely dead. I remember 2015. Do you guys, anyone here remember that season 2015 by any chance? They had to beat
Was it
Penn
good?
State. It was okay. I forgot what bowl they ended in, but they had to win the last game to go to the Big Ten championship. I have tried to look this up. I cannot find it anywhere on the internet, but I am almost positive that they did the bring one friend for free in the student section thing, even for that game. Like, Thanksgiving is historically a very, very tough draw, no matter how good the team is. Obviously, it helps to have a good team. That's going to raise the numbers a little bit. But very rarely, even in the best of the best years, are you going to see a sellout there. So, I mean,
it does
that's
claim,
far from the issue this weekend, but, you know.
We claim to have a gate attendance for that game of 74,705.
For which one?
For Penn State. For Penn State 2015.
Okay. And now, 2017, I looked this up earlier, too. They had an announced attendance of 70,216 people. Bitch, there weren't 216 people there, let alone 70,000 on top of that. So that number in 2015, I guess I can believe that was maybe more of a student section thing that they were worried about and had issues with. But, I mean, look, you watch like the Josh Butler senior day, too, that moment where he brings out both the dogs, like, dead stadium. Like, senior day is just always dead. And I know that wasn't the flashiest year either, but it's never dead. And I don't want to go down the Ford Field road again. That's why I thought it was okay to move, a Thanksgiving Day game to Ford Field once every 4 or 5 years. Just mix it up a little bit because, well, shit, you're not going to get more than 20,000 ever again for a Thanksgiving weekend game unless you're bordering on 10 wins. I think it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I don't remember missing games or leaving games early, but we didn't have them when we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, in fairness, I can't really relate, but I can also relate to the idea of how I felt as a 18 through 22-year-old about would I rather be at home or would I rather be on campus? And I love my parents, but I for sure would have rather been on campus being an absolute idiot. So,
yeah,
like, that's the bit that's a little surprising to me about student attendance in these games. And, but not to overly lament this, other than to say our dear friend Graham Couch got into a little bit of hot water for bringing this up. And then Aiden Childs did comment on it. I think Graham is not wrong for pointing it out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to tie into a conversation later on that we're going to have about NIL, but the number of people who are butts in seats is a reflection of fan engagement.
Yeah.
And yes, you can talk about how cold it was. You can talk about the terrible weekend. You can talk about how they've made the in-game experience as insufferable as possible. Those are all very true things. But do you know who didn't have attendance problems? Ohio State.
Yeah.
Who LOL to that whole thing, but but who has a $20 million roster, right? It's a reflection.
But also they get to have the game the last week. I get, and I'm stealing a Chris Vanini tweet joke right now. I get that the Land Grant Trophy was too overwhelming and too pure for college football, and thus it needed to be taken down several things. But Rutgers at home for two garbage teams going at each other, it's not appealing. And there is a geographical component to this. I've always said it's more impressive that East Lansing can get 77,000 people come in from the west side and the Detroit suburbs and drive that hour and a half than 80,000 people going to Ford Field or 100,000 people going to Michigan Stadium, because it's a commitment. You got to get on 96. 96 is the worst. Just the worst road.
Not a fun time.
Yeah,
but you're acting like that State College is somehow easily commutable to. For those who are unaware, it is truly in the middle of nowhere in a much larger state from a side to side perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's fair. I think if that game had a little bit more heat, if we were able to get Penn State back in that slot, and if this team had something to play for, I know, Sheehan, that you're pulling old receipts, but I've been in some of those stands Thanksgiving weekend as well, and I had a grand old time in some of those games.
Oh my God, the Rutgers game where we had to win and like Rocky Lombardi had the game-winning drive. Oh, magical. Come on. It was 18 or 19, doesn't matter. But
yeah,
I think the last sales pitch to get people in that stadium was that Purdue game on Friday night. And I was very fortunate to be there. Could hardly get a ticket to that one. But that was actually, all jokes aside, that was actually like relatively well attended for how miserable the season has gone, how cold it was outside, how miserable the opponent was. But you look around, like the lower bowl's like filled. Parts of the upper deck are filled. But that second half was so anemic, and I think that was the final straw for a lot of people because walking out of that game, I went to a funeral earlier that week. That atmosphere was more lively leaving the stadium than Spartan Stadium was. I couldn't, like, people were not happy with how that. So I'm not surprised that people didn't say, hey, 8 days, let's turn around and come back and see this. An offense that scores 19 points a game, an offense that really turns out by the Aiden Childs press conference, watch a team that kind of quits in the second half. let's all get back and do this all over again in even more miserable weather. So, look, obviously it wasn't just that one game that was a final blow. It's a whole season.
Yeah.
And the season before that and the season before that. Like, the student section thing, like, you're a junior right now, you haven't seen a bowl game. Like, that's ridiculous. So I can't fault people for not showing up to games in the student section. Look, how many does the student section seat? 20,000, let's call it, for example. How many are die-hard Spartan fans? We'll call it like 5,000 maybe.
Yeah.
Hell, I remember when we were there, 2010, 2014, we were sick. We would go with our friends, pack the student section. Some of those people I've gone with, I don't even see them post about Michigan State football for the last 5 years. I mean, it's a very in-the-moment experience if you're a student there. If you're there for 3 years and you haven't seen a bowl game, I can't fault you for not loading up the car and getting back to campus a little early. It's just it's in a really bad spot right now as far as fan engagement. It's almost like how Detroit as a city went a decade without any playoff appearances. You're missing a generation of fans. Well, you're losing a graduating class of fans right now. It's just all around not good. I could go on for hours, but I'll stop my ranting right now.
Well, but I think that's the point. I mean, you think about our experience. We had shit. We had shit for 3 years, and then we had D'Antonio in his first year completely redeem himself, the program, and our hopes, and really our fandom. Unfortunately, we can't say the same for Jonathan Smith in his first year. I think the question is, what can he do in his second? And is 6 wins on the horizon because I think the saddest fucking thing to me was that 6 wins was fully within our grasp. Within our grasp.
That Iowa game. What happened to that team that played against Iowa? They were sitting on 4 wins with 5 games to go or 4 games to go, and like they just shit their pants.
What happened to the first half of the Michigan game?
What about opening drives? Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Childs, right down the field, 7 fucking points on the board.
You're the greatest first drive team in the nation. We have to be.
Yeah.
And then the offensive line just utterly fucking collapses. Complete fucking cheesecloth. The end. Done.
I mean that
cheesecloth is too tightly meshed for that.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Shoot.
I think you are actually
burlap.
Exactly right, Plum. Like there's just not the dudes out there. There's just not the guys. And as the game progresses, even from the first series to the second, they just sort of atrophy and fall apart. It's the nature of the losses is incredibly demoralizing. The nature, Sheehan, as you said, of the wins is demoralizing.
So I want to go to Childs for a minute here. I recognize that there are things outside of our control. Okay, I understand that he's 19. I understand that this is his first season playing in snow.
I need to add that to my grievance list.
That he's 19.
Stop talking about that. But anyway, sorry.
Let me get to my point about this, though. There's a lot we can't control. At the end of the day, this is a young person who hasn't learned how to shut the fuck up yet and get out of his own way. He is a 19-year-old making $1 million or more a year.
Allegedly.
I don't care how the fuck much the fans bother you because they're not there. I don't really care what you think about your teammates or whether they want to be there or they don't want to be there and their attitude and getting right. I want you to reflect exclusively on your own performance. Good, bad, mediocre, and then promise the fans just improvement and progress. I want PC decorum. I don't want anything else. I don't want what Chris Solari and Graham, to an extent, are apologizing for and making into some sort of, we got raw candor out of this hot to trot 19-year-old sophomore. He's going to really give it to us next year. No, not quite. Not quite. He looked pathetic. He looked sad. He looked very immature and youthful. He looked completely over his skis. He lost all credibility, should have lost all credibility with the news media. I can't imagine the credibility he has left in the locker room, because who the fuck is he talking about? And now let's talk about your grandmother. How old is Pat? Ms. Pat?
83. Pat's 83.
She's doing great.
Just
Wow, Aiden, you're coming for 83-year-old Grandma Sheehan? You absolute chode.
the nerve.
Unfucking believable. You've done
Your
nothing.
mom say on Twitter, Aiden.
And some of those passes. If you anything in the third, anytime he had the ball in his hand in the third quarter, oh Lord Jesus, you would have thought he was flying into a Delta Airlines jet, flying high overhead. So I'm just saying, he has no room, and I get it hurts. I get it feels bad, and it's got to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
But if I hear one more fucking thing about how this guy is NFL elite quarterback potential, fuck you, horse shit. He hasn't done dick yet. And to come out like he did, I searched today for an hour, I guess, looking for the apology, looking for the retraction, looking for anything from MSU Athletics to say, oh, well, let me just burnish the edges here. And the fact that we don't have it makes me fear that Jonathan Smith has lost complete control of the team. And he's so fucking scared about Aiden Childs getting the dick out of here, following Coach Meat back to the West Coast. He doesn't fucking know where to start. And if that's the case, this is Lord of the Flies. We're fucked, and we're completely out of our depth now. So that's my first grievance.
I will, as a Coastal Elite, I'll just add on here, dear Aiden.
Let's go.
That the reason you're able to gain so much money is because MSU has, what do we cite, 600,000 living alumni? Is that what?
Yeah, sure.
And Aiden, do you think they all live in the state of Michigan? A lot of us are not quite. I wish I was financially so capable I could helicopter in to Michigan State on the reg, but I can't. But the reason the school has value, you have value, is because of the TV rights deals, which is to say that a bunch of us jabronis watch on TV from afar. So the idea that like somehow just because I have not been in the stadium every day, that somehow I'm not emotionally invested in the well-being and growth of this team, or that I haven't watched every game, is also asinine. Now, I've not sacrificed like Pat has, but I'm just saying
Sure.
that Spartans are everywhere. They're not all commutable to fucking East Lansing, Aiden. But your worldview at 19 is this big around. So
And that's
I get
where
it. You don't have object permanence. So anyway, let's move
That would
on.
explain some of his throws. If like a guy disappeared behind a D lineman and he was like, well, that person doesn't exist anymore. Next check.
You mean that must be why he didn't see Nate Carter right in front of him, is that the center moved in front of him.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just say a couple things. Rutgers has, and this is, I think, where I'm confused. Everyone has had a good offensive line in comparison to us. Mm-hmm. Literally everyone. In fact, I would go so far as to say that I might swap Purdue's offensive line for ours. Like,
Yeah.
spot the lie. Like, did Purdue got pressures on us? Purdue got sacks. Like, so, Rutgers has some good things going. Michigan State was not good, and it was a bad game overall. I think end of story. Nate Carter getting the Snow Angel flag, I think, is the only thing of note, other than that really turned the tide in a big way. Plum, what's your take on that? The Snow Angel.
I mean, they have fucking stupid rules, and they're selectively enforced. What are you going to do? I mean,
Jonathan Kim then kicks it out of bounds, which gives Rutger the ball at the 50. Like,
I mean, it was
special
I mean, it
teams
matters.
He was kind of horrible this year, wasn't it? I mean, I know that Ross Sells really set the bar very, very low, and it started pretty good this year, but like, holy shit, fumbling kickoff returns. Now we got to start the 2-yard line, kicking out of bounds, missing extra points.
It's almost like
it's still improved, but like, oh my God, like it got really sloppy there when the calendar turned to October. I'm sorry to interrupt one, but I just had to get
No. I mean, I think that's.
I'm sorry.
It was.
Does
stupid.
the defensive ends coach also coach special teams?
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
co-coordinator. Yeah, he did a
100%.
great job this year. Head boy Chad.
Yeah.
Anyway, Plum. Sorry.
No, I mean that's it. You're not gonna. Yeah, I'm not. I'm done selectively. Fuck the referees. Again, they didn't lose games, and there were enough stupid fouls that we fucking drew on our own because we're disciplineless. I will note, and we haven't talked about this, and I didn't see it on the outline. Luckily, no brawls for us this season, though there does seem to be a common denominator among Big Ten teams inciting or being involved in brawls. But again, we'll just put that off to one side. None of those for us today. We at least didn't debase ourselves another year in a row. So that's a win. I don't know. It's discipline.
We
did get
head-butted and stomped on by a team that is always aggrieved, and of course, always the victim in the
Didn't investigate. It never happened. So
and still is managing to go to a bowl game. So all my point in saying that just is that even when you're the fucking worst, most hated, useless, imbecilic program in the state of Michigan, somehow you still piss fucking gold. And it isn't kidney disease. I don't know. That's what we're stuck with. Just a lot of bad fucking kidneys over here. A lot of congealed waste in the system. Not really sure.
Paint a picture with words. Wow.
We're going to just note really quickly that Deuce Edwards, who I believe is related to Felton Davis, has committed to Michigan State. I think he's a high 3-star, Matt. Listen to Locked On Spartans. I'm sure you've talked about it.
I actually haven't. I'm so sorry because, I was going to, and then we beat North Carolina. So the whole episode was just that. And then we got our teeth kicked in by Rutgers. So that whole episode was that. So as a bit, I might go the entire career of Terrence Edwards without ever mentioning him. So we'll see how long this goes.
It might be easy to do that. Yeah.
It might only last 10 months. Who's to say? This is very exciting for everyone.
We then lost a commit when the announcement of Coach Meat leaving us for UCLA of LaRue Zamorano or something like that, which is great because I was going to butcher that forever if he even played.
Good riddance. That's right.
Depending on your service, he might have been a 4-star. And so that's a bit of a bummer. But LaRue is headed to, you'll not be surprised by this, it's either UCLA, USC, or Washington. Then shortly thereafter, we picked up a Greg. How would you describe this recruit? 3-star.
Listen, Evan Young, if you're listening,
oh no,
it's an ongoing bit on this podcast, and I do apologize in advance that we call recruits trash recruits if they're 3 stars. And then it is also an ongoing bit on this podcast that we look at what we call the peer group of this recruitment.
Is this a bit?
And you, Evan Young, are aware of your offers, and you have an idea of where this is going, I think. You got your Louisianas, you got your North Texases, you got your Texas Stateses, you got your UTEPSes, you got your Prairie View A&M, a team that will.
Your mic did a great job of cutting all of it.
Really,
your
none
mic
of it.
drilled out completely. That's great.
Evan, I'm so sorry if you're listening, but we cannot be taking guys like this. We can't.
Well, we are.
We can't.
Texas,
And
though,
I
they play
know.
football down there. They play football in Texas, Kevin.
And
Little known
they
fact.
sure do. You know what this means, though? This does mean that a bunch of Texas teams evaluated Mr. Young and did not offer him. And I know that some of our greatest players of all time, what's his name? That was the offensive lineman.
Conklin?
Jack
First
Conklin.
yard. Jack Conklin, of course. Gray shirt, was going to Western, then flipped. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell, instant impact, 2-star guy. But at the same time, this isn't the exception in the way that Jack Conklin and Le'Veon Bell were. This is becoming the rule, that it's guys with these types of offer sheets that we're seeing as commits. And it's concerning. And I don't know if this is the time to start talking about NIL, but how is my question? How is this happening?
We're gonna save NIL for grievances because I've got a lot.
This hasn't been grievances. We're not grievances yet.
We're in trouble. It's
All
bad.
right,
This is gonna be
we're
a
gonna talk
3-hour
about Maui.
episode. Oh boy.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Maui.
Sex.
You are getting cut out all the time. Maui. Michigan State goes 2-1. We are not going to break these games down because it feels like it was forever ago.
They look good.
But
They
did. Michigan State beats Colorado, loses to Memphis, and then beats UNC in overtime. That's number 12 UNC for those who are keeping score. In a tournament that Greg Sheehan, you all talked about going 2-1 as being satisfactory. We thought UConn was going to be the problem, but LOL.
Beautiful. And then to come back with your tail between your legs and say, we're never going to do a 3-game tournament ever again. How can you be a 2-time defending national champ and being that bitch made? That is insane. You have the whole college basketball world in your palm, and the first sign of adversity is just, we can't go to a tropical island on someone's dime ever again and play basketball. Oh my God.
Can we talk though? I will say the officiating and I don't want to give Hurley any credit. The officiating was god awful the entire tournament. And then when we first started doing this podcast, 5 years ago now? We had a bit that we did called Not a Sponsor, and we did one about the little tykes who do the floor wipe up, who are truly
the littlest tykes out there in Maui. Just their frontal cortexes aren't fully developed yet, and we're like, let's put them in charge of mopping the floor. This isn't a humid environment.
And not give them a mop. Also, we're going to give them a hand towel. This is some bikini car wash situation.
It looks like it was one of those towels that you hand out to fans in the stands. Which if you've ever taken home and you've tried to use for yourself, it just pushes water around
it's like
your
using
countertop.
Construction paper. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's awful. And we're like, give the 7-year-olds this, and then let the athletes run around on this hardwood. What is yes,
this
exactly.
Right
Try to mop up urine or whatever it is that Danny Hurley was dribbling down his leg the whole game with one of those. I dare you. It cannot be done. It's just dumb. Give a real man a mop. I want to see a heavy set dude with no shirt on, or a heavily stained t-shirt out there with a mop and that understands what's going on. He's been doing it for years.
The Civic Center has a janitor. That guy exists. And
they're like, no, sir. Time for the children to get out there with their little towels. It's the stupidest thing.
Wow. Things to note, Michigan State did well. For a moment, they shot the 3-ball well, and then they didn't. Memphis looked very good. Frankie Fiddler maybe on the come around after getting kind of benched. Trey Holloman, good tournament. I don't know. We're not going to break all 3 games down. I think Xavier Booker is, for me, the biggest we're gonna put a pin in this because Xavier Booker played like he was 6'11" for the first time.
Thank God. Way to be young, man.
And so can he do that again? Can we see more of that? I think is my biggest. Otherwise, Jace Richardson missed the last game because of concussion protocol. And maybe just Tom Izzo doesn't refer to it as that. But he called it
a head bonk. He was like, "Oh, he's got the old head bonk."
But Jace Richardson in the 2 games he played was incredible. Like is it fair to say that he's in the conversation for is he our best player?
He is.
Oh, it has to be. I think he is. Yeah. Is it okay if this team doesn't have an alpha, though? I know this is like the age-old cliche question in college basketball.
Can it be Jace Richardson?
It might have to be, yeah.
Is he not because he's a freshman? Like, is that what we're doing here? Is it's like, well, this is Jaden's team.
Mm-hmm. And he comes off the bench, so it's weird. Like, you don't want to admit that he's the best player. But I think he is right now, unless Trey Holloman realizes that Jace isn't on his tail, and it's like, it's time to let this son of a bitch fly right now, and he just drops 15 in the first half. But that was my pin in it person right there. And I know that sounds ridiculous because, like, we've seen Trey play good basketball as a sophomore, but we need to see it consistently now. As a junior, he has not started the season off that well. I mean, God, he put the team on his back in that first half against North Carolina. Had some good moments down the stretch, too. But, I mean, look, Fiddler's a great candidate, obviously. I think that he'll come around. Booker, I'm not sold yet. I need to see, like, 3 or 4 games in a row for me to be able to be like, yeah, now I'm starting to believe. But Trey, like, we've seen it at times. Let's put a pin in this and see if this will actually be a thing. Back in his home state on Wednesday, too. So,
but can we?
Oh, that's a pro move right there. Setting up
you like that?
Well
yeah,
done.
You like that? Yeah,
oh, he's good.
Thank you.
He's good.
That's nice. But can we just all agree a name none of us said and none of us expected to say? And it's really disappointing when he's a senior and you really wanted to hope for something, but he can't shoot for shit. And certainly don't let him try for threes. Jaden Akins, just nothing. Not a lot of anything.
Which means on Wednesday he's going to have 26 and 8.
Yeah.
It's every third or fourth game. He just has a stat line that makes you think, how is he not going to be a top 10 pick in the next NBA draft? And then the next 3 games, you're wondering, how did he not just fall at Saginaw Valley and just ride the bench there? What a beautiful career he's had.
Can I ask you guys one more question before we move on?
No.
Next time Tom Izzo has a team up 3 points with the other team advancing the ball down the court. And
I called this
10 seconds to play.
I said, no, he's not going to foul. He's not going to do it.
No, of course not. Right. No, he never, because you're less of a man if you foul, I think, is his mentality towards it. Like, you are a mere child so that's not what the UP taught him.
Sorry, getting added to my grievance list.
He'll change certain things about the program, but there are others that will remain this way until they put him in the earth, apparently. I'm with you. I'm with you guys. We will see time is a flat circle, and we will see this happen again.
We will. Hopefully, at least defender will be close enough to the shooter to even have the chance to foul. I know that he won't still, but Jeremy Fears standing there at the top of the free throw line calling out a baseline cutter when you're up 3 as if that layup would mean anything. Like, Jeremy, I love you, dude. Like, I think special things are coming your way, your career, but God damn it, turn the fuck around. There's a guy with his own helicopter pad worth of space at the 3-point line, and he is about to splash one. Not even in your eye, because you're not even close enough. Like,
because you're not anywhere near him. Yeah.
He had 4 backbreaking moments at the end of that game where I'm starting to think, like, do we investigate him? Because this is, like, all these errors are so comically out of pocket that it's become suspicious almost, Jeremy. Again, I have high hopes for Jeremy. Love the kid, but oh my God, what a stumble to the finish line for him.
He likes making clutch time free throws. That's what it is. That's how
clutch
he gets
time
his
free
rocks
throws
off.
is what he loves, and then playing against any semblance of a press is something he does not love. Which, as a point guard, might be an issue here, but I'm sure he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
That's a note from the Memphis game, but something to keep an eye on. A couple other notes. We're not going to talk about it other than to say, as a segue point, men's basketball I think is 44 in the net and is top receiving votes outside of the top 25 in the AP. LOL, UConn still there. But to transition to Lady Hoops, they are crushing it. They are number 6 in the net.
Yeah, let's go.
So goes back to the conversation we had. Graham Couch, best ticket in town, women's hoops. Robin Freilich is putting up a ton of points.
Does she know how to coach football? Is there a chance we could get her?
She could play, actually. Yeah. So
I believe that. Actually, I believe
she's going to be our 17th kid of the 2025 class. Actually,
I'd put her in over a Day Willie at this point in time.
Well, she'd probably have the same offer list as some of our other recruits.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing about just a Day Wiley really quick? And not to be Mr. shit on every single kid possible or be Mr. I told you so. Had a bad feeling about him. You remember Bishop Sycamore, that made-up school?
Yeah.
Had a bad feeling about him when he was getting fourth quarter snaps against Bishop Sycamore. I'll just leave it at that. That's when I had the first inkling of maybe you're just 3 stars because we went to IMG. Because if you are, I'm sure the coach would have started pulling people from the stands if he could have to put in against Bishop Sycamore. But got to field 11 players. So good luck the rest of his career. Hopefully he could turn it around, but oh shit.
He's one of those people that we kept hearing from the Tucker staff was showing out in spring ball.
Yeah.
Him and Caleb Coley also.
Yeah. Davion
Anyway.
Prim. Yeah.
Yeah. Famed every side of the ball. Davion Prim. So women's basketball crushing it. Hockey, we'll just say played Longwood. They did good things. 2 shutouts.
Lindenwood, thank you very much. Come on.
This is Greg. Greg did it.
Don't put that on me.
Jerry Bear's blood pressure just went through north of 300. Way to go.
Just poked the bear on that one.
Seisman Zapala is Longwood. Greg's mistake.
Wow. DePasco, which gets the net on the second game. Also gets Italian artist. Exactly. Right, so I mean, it's a program that's only been D1 for a few years now, but the guys did what they needed to do for Longwood or Lindenwood or whatever.
Elwood. That's right. Lowood.
All right. Let's get into grievances.
Now the show starts.
Minute 47.
Literally, yeah. They've really been waiting this whole time.
That's some foreplay right there for you. That's building it up.
All right. I'm happy to kick things off. We've been teasing NIL for a while now, and I've got several points on this.
This conversation will take 2 hours, like not a minute less. Let's go. Let's get this rolling.
This is the most inept bullshit that you could possibly imagine.
That's a good start. Yeah.
Simultaneously, we are saying that we have enough in NIL to field a competitive roster, but yet that common donors are not participating. Sheehan, you've heard this from people who are influential in the space as well, that no one at Michigan State participates in this stuff. And third, we are among the most plugged in people. Truly, don't miss a tweet, interact with people. And I didn't know we had a raffle. I did not know. And by the way, I'd prefer to be compensated to do it. But if you called up the pod and said, hey, guys, could you mention that we have a raffle going on? We'd probably cover it as news. How do you colossally fuck this up so bad? You are from the university level, and I'm not blaming Haller exclusively because that's bullshit. He's getting them these strays to the collectives, everyone. They are so terrible, and I'm tired of having to make excuses, and I'm tired of having to traffic in some vagaries around this stuff. That is my grievance.
People, common folk, us fans. Let's be honest, it won't matter how much we donate in the grand scheme of things because it comes down to millionaires and billionaires. You guys just saw what happened in Michigan. Bryce Underwood, $12 million coming from a single donor for that. Okay, If we all chip in $50, doesn't amount to millions of dollars. It might creep over $1 million if you get enough. But above all, that's not fucking important right now. People want to feel included. People want to feel like they can make a difference. And the effort it takes to make people feel like they can be included is so little. It's embarrassing and inexplicable how they're missing the mark here. They've had one tweet from their what is now the 15th collective here at this university since March. They pointed that raffle that you were talking about. I saw it today. I think Darian Harris talked about it. He's like, hey, Nate Carter had a tweet about a raffle for Iowa field passes that 90 people looked at. Like, so it's on our fucking running back to come out with a raffle every once in a while, have one tweet about it. Like, there should be someone that makes sure that there's more than one tweet since March. There should be someone emailing people. I shouldn't be on Twitter seeing Odell Beckham Jr. tweet infinitely more about the NIL opportunities for fans than the athletic director is, than anyone else in this organization has done so far. I love Chief of Propaganda. He cares about his university. Shit, he can't be the top guy running the show here. This is ridiculous. It is completely amateur hour for this university. And that's that is start with all this.
Well, and that's why you're right to come for Haller. At the end of the day, he's the guy who is in charge of the athletics department and therefore the athletics budget, who is allocating the resources on staffers who aren't fucking working. This is a job. We need employed individuals doing their fucking job. I work at a business. You all work at businesses. They pay you to do your job. And if you don't do the bare minimum of your job, you get on corrective action and then you're out of the fucking job. So this is a leadership dilemma. It's a leadership, and this is what I'm going to go, and I don't want to rob the thunder here, but this is what I was saying about Jonathan Smith too. Okay? As soon as Childs got off that fucking interview, he should have been right over daddy's lap. Bad baby, bad baby, bad baby. Absolutely not, baby. We don't talk like that on camera, baby. You're making too much money, baby, to say anything unpolished, baby, because we can't afford for any fan, particularly season ticket holders who don't come to the games because it's not worth it, to not renew. We don't have any money. So this is leadership. This is on Haller. This is on Smith. This is leadership.
So related to this, Kenny Dillingham. It's Kenny, right? Dillingham.
I was literally just going to talk about Dillingham. Yeah.
So and this is going to tie into a broader thing about Jonathan Smith. But like, for those who didn't see it, Dillingham wears the collective hoodie to his press conference and says, "I need money for the collective to retain my roster because they are underpaid." This is an Arizona State team that is now is going to be competing for the Big 12 championship, I believe.
And who's their quarterback again? I don't have that in front of me. Does anyone know who their quarterback is?
Noah
Google Google Noah Kim transfer portal and you'll find out. He put together, and this is why it's also really difficult to make another grievance, is making fucking apologies for our roster, is because ASU put together an undercompensated roster who is capable of performing.
That's exactly it.
But Kenny Dillingham gets up in front of the press and advocates for his players. I don't see it, and this is not just a Jonathan Smith thing, because you can put it on Darian Harris, you can put it on the other, who's the new dude that they hired who's in charge of this stuff. You can put it on Alan Haller. You can put it on literally everybody. You can put it on Tom Izzo for all I care too, because those are resources that are being sucked away. Not enough advertising for the collective throughout the places that have the most eyeballs, and that's insane to me. Like,
no emails, no tweets. You occasionally see it like on the little scores table during basketball games, but
is there a website there, Matt? Is there a website? Is there a QR code?
I don't even actually know the NIL name. Like, I could tell you Arizona State's is called Sun Angel Collective, but like I can't even tell you the NIL collective of my own fucking school. I'm not doing a bit. Like, it's either Sparty Nation NIL or Sparty NIL, whatever it is now.
The website is Spartan NIL. The actual collective is Sparty NIL. So
Sparty NIL. Okay,
it's a mess.
Very creatively named. All right, you can see why they're going to introduce a 17th new collective here. But what just drives me up a wall, and I know I've already made this point, is just how it's not like we need to hire a staff of 5 new people to make people feel more included or better marketing. Mm-hmm. I could tweet a link out right now in 18 seconds, and that's after I have to proofread it. So probably 9 if I'm in a pinch. It is effortless to do this. effortless. Like, sure, like winning cures all. That'll help people donate more. But like, people are also really fed up losing constantly, and they're asking, well, how can we help NIL? Well, instead of pointing to a tweet that Nate Carter had in early October, how about you actually do your job? I don't think that's out of line to ask from a Power 4 university that claims it's a top 25 player in this sport, because nothing's adding up here. Oh, we're good in NIL. Oh, we're a powerhouse. We're a have, not a have not. We're about to sign the 64th ranked class on Wednesday. Okay. We're about to go
Evan Young. We beat out UTEP. We beat out UTEP for Evan Young. Everyone go to SpartyNIL.com. It's working. Evan, I apologize if you're listening. I feel truly awful if you are. This is an ongoing bit, but also you know that your offer list is all
El Paso followed by Hoople. Yeah.
So
good.
What's wild about all of this is that while they missed the mark on getting true influencers there, they did have an ability to reach out to fans to release information about black jerseys. They created a fair amount of social media buzz about their jerseys.
It can be done.
So
no, they know how. They choose
maybe
not
just
to do it.
copy your recipient list and then add can't read, can't write at 1855@gmail.com to that list, and like truly
let us know.
Then you'll have the real influencers involved. And so
you know how many people will whore themselves out, myself included? Like, I'd love nothing more than to boost the NIL here. Like, just to at least put a bat signal up there and educate people how they can give to this university if you're sick of 5 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins in the last 3 years. I will whore myself out for no dollars.
So Sheehan, as the only one on this podcast right now with a very fetching green and white camo hoodie, is the important thing that we, the normal regular people, just throw in a few bucks so that, as you say, the whales look at it and they're like, oh, okay. They look down from their tower and they are trying. Okay. And then they do the actual work that is required to field a team. Is that really what it takes? Is it just warm bodies that we need to get out there?
Yeah, I think 90% of your NIL collective is made up of 10% of people, and those are all the people with very high tax brackets. But people are frustrated right now. People want to know how they can help, and then, of course, you just point to, well, there's no communication on this whatsoever. That only furthers people's frustration right there. That's a nice little banner.
But can I just say, this isn't that hard to manage. I mean, I run a nonprofit. We're constantly having to beat the drum and solicit donors, and we put on special events, and we're taking people out to lunch. That's the job. You're a Division I head coach. That's your full-time job from now until you actually have a roster to begin practicing. He's got 8 months of no job but fun development. A little bit of schematics. That's why he's got assistant coaches, film, all that fucking shit, rostering, recruiting. I know recruiting's a big deal too, but I'm just saying half of his fucking job then for the next 8 months is literally fun development. And if Alan Haller doesn't know that, they have to have some of the best development professionals in the fucking business in that office. They're a Division I fucking program. And this is what I mean. If they're not doing that, or if Jonathan Smith is not able to do that, and I think that is an open question. I don't know how deep the pockets were apart from old Unky Phil at Oregon State. Or I guess he was an Oregon guy. So maybe no pockets. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know who he was getting there. So welcome here, but you've got to get the pay to play. And can I just add one more though? Because maybe I'll let that one breathe for a second. The development piece is a big fucking piece. And so you can come for my money. You can come for all of our money. It'll be small dollar things, but you could do big events where anybody, Joe Schmo like me, $150 to get in the door, and you're going to get a picture with Jonathan Smith, and he's going to tell you 5 high points of the season and his 5 low points, and he's going to take questions from the crowd. And could you imagine? You'd sell that fucking thing out like that because people would come to do the one goddamn thing that Chris Solari refuses to fucking do, which is ask a hard question, is to hold anyone to fucking account. And you know I love Graham, but the only fucking thing I've seen Graham do yet was write this piece saying a massive offseason is ahead. And Graham, you're right. You're right. But fucking say it to him. Say it to him in the goddamn press conference. Put his ass on the hot spot. I'm getting hot. But this is what I mean. There's no fucking accountability. Everyone's just here behind the camera. All
right. Can I? I'm going to keep it on Alan Haller for a second.
Oh, please. Yeah.
What's the plan with scholarships, Alan? We have a massive change in the number of scholarships that are allowed for every sport that's about ready to happen. And the funding consequences of that are very unclear. And so I am wondering, what are we doing in baseball and softball? What are we doing here exactly besides... We have a very pretty field that is not available for all of spring because it's perpetually flooded.
That's part of the appeal, Michael.
That's right.
It's nice.
Not only is it cold, but you don't play at home because you can't play there. And so why would anyone ever come here? And you've already underfunded it as it relates to scholarships. And the places that do care about it are going to invest in scholarships. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, like how the tax code is a reflection of a society's values, how you delineate scholarships is going to be a reflection of MSU's values. All I've heard Alan Haller say is, we're not cutting sports. Shut up, Alan.
Please do.
Compete. Like, it bums me out, but I would much rather you say, hey, I'm sorry, we've invested the bare minimum into wrestling, which only two teams have ever won a championship in over the last bajillion years. I would rather invest that money into expanding my softball and baseball teams if that's what you want to do. But like, make the decision on what you care about, and that's I'm a little bit tired of having to. I'm not saying fire Alan Haller. I'm not in that crowd, but he's getting into very valid criticism realm, and so my grievances. I'm tired for having to apologize for him for a little bit.
So I got a different one. If I could just go down the list of grievances. My top one is Alan Haller. Just want to start there with him. You know what? It all started with me, the response after the Michigan thing, and not to beat a dead horse. It's been deceased for the better part of a month and a half, but that's when he started to lose me. I'm sure a lot of other people feel this way. Never have I seen a more the
rolling over.
Acting like a bitch, Kevin. That's what we will call it. I mean, not to directly insult the guy, but that's the most bitch-made thing I've ever seen in my entire life. After that whole thing happens, you even come out and say that, yeah, we had a staff member, a player down there. We will make sure that this gets investigated. We're going to be treated fairly. It's going to be awesome. And then all of a sudden the Big Ten picks up the phone.
What? Like 24 hours later.
No, we're not investigating anything. Go back. East Lansing hangs up the phone, and then Alan Haller just in the cuck chair in the corner, just like, no, I guess that's their decision. I guess. Well, okay, that's that. All right, let's all move on. Like that, you rolled over like the biggest bitch possible, and that's when you lost me too. I'm not looking for every single player on Michigan's roster to get arrested. I think at least pushing for an investigation after you guys suspended 8 total players, sans investigation not too long ago. That all happened. So, no, it was completely just all talk, all bark, no bite. And, well, that's what we've come with Alan Haller. And the night games don't bother me. The Friday games don't bother me. Whatever. You're handcuffed. That one bothered me extremely. And now that the whole thing about NIL starting to fall apart, well, okay. Yeah.
I went and I rustled the bushes around, people talk over at the 1855 place. And I was assured that week that Alan Haller was hot, that he was not going to take this lying down.
Nope, not taking no for an answer.
And then, when you know it,
he took no
we
for
do
an
the
answer.
thing that we always do, which is the Big Ten says, do this. And we say, yes, sir, right away, sir. Okay, guys. And it has never, that I'm aware of, paid off for us. We never get it. Never comes back around. The Big Ten's never
Correct.
ever been like, hey, MSU, remember all of those favors that you've done for us over the years? Literally every time we ask, here's one for you, bub. It never pays off that I'm aware of. And just like with the NIL stuff, I'd be thrilled if someone reached out to us to let us know, actually, this, that, and the other thing, we did get paid back out, because I don't think it ever actually happens. I get my little list. So I'm with you on this one, Sheehan. Plum, you don't have grievances, right? There's
not the Plum I know. No.
I mean, I guess I haven't really leveled any yet tonight, so I would need to think about where I really am feeling aggrieved. I don't know. I think I've come for the people I wanted to. I think I've said what I needed to say about Jonathan Smith. I'm not really sure he's up to the task. I'm willing to give anybody time. I know that it's his first season, but he's not doing the bare minimum. That's a problem. I've said what I need to say about Allen and Aiden, who's really fucking lost me. But I hope that every single one of those offensive linemen takes an opportunity to look in the mirror and say, no, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I haven't been enough. I may never be enough. Because if what they gave us on the football field is any measure of their full human potential, my Lord and my God. My Lord and my God.
All right. So. I got two other things here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But Tom can't not catch strays here. We still don't have a center.
Of Izzo fame? Is that Tom?
Yeah.
Of Izzo fame.
Okay. Tom still doesn't have a center. And I'm tired of Tom talking about how the generation is soft. We talked about it earlier about, is there a problem calling Jace Richardson the best player on this team or starting Jace Richardson because that might hurt somebody's feelings? Tom is soft. Do you know who doesn't have a problem with soft players? Literally anyone else who's won a fucking national championship in the last 20 years. Shut up, Tom. You're the one who's soft. So that's it. And then the last thing is for people like Matt Sheehan.
Yeah.
I have a grievance.
That's fine.
Finally, let's go.
There it is.
Deserve it. 1
hour, 6 minutes
in. I had the under on this one. So.
We all had need to stop talking about transfers. Unless your name is Will Hunter talking about Kenneth Walker, who called that shot very early.
Walk-off grand slam. Yeah.
We need to stop talking about transfers as if, particularly when you pick them up, because sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. Yeah. But at this point in time, all the evidence we've gotten in MSU is that the Pac-12 was never a conference that should be taken seriously. Edwards, fine, but all Pac-12. Jarek Broussard, did he play?
Oh,
holy shit, he was bad.
In flip-flops he played, yeah.
Who is that big D tackle that we got from
Colorado?
Colorado, who was supposed to be great.
Jalen Sami.
Yeah, Jalen Sami, not good. Jack Velling, sorry, where you been?
Scored a touchdown, Mike.
Yeah, he got his first one.
Yeah, Aiden Childs got asked about that. Like, did that feel good? And Jack Velling probably was like, no. Honestly, it was the most underwhelming touchdown of my life. So we gotta stop with this. Truly, unless Will Hunter comes out of retirement to clip together 12 tweets on somebody, I'm good. We picked it up. Here are the highlights, but will they be good? I don't know. Yeah. Can we be honest about that? That, as it relates to football, I don't know. Yeah. And that's okay. We do it too, Matt. And I'm just blaming you because
no.
Podcast.
Lesson has been learned, and I think I've tapered off transfer expectations year by year after Kenneth Walker, and it still isn't enough. Clearly, I talked a lot about Jack Velling before the season. I talked about Quindarius Dunnigan a lot before the season. Us four have as many sacks as Quindarius Dunnigan does ever since October, guys. It's bad. And on top of that, another lesson that I have to learn too, and I should be better than this. I'm not, and I know I'm going to make the same mistake again. You guys ready for this?
We should all be honest about that.
I don't know. I know I'm going to do this all over again like the fucking idiot that I am. I'm already upset at myself for doing it. But 90 minutes in the middle of April when we're all yearning for football, and oh my God, the Spartan spotlight's on. It's the spring game, baby. Ooh, Quindarius Dunnigan will tackle for loss against a guy that's going to be a horrible right tackle for us. Hey. Run his number up the flagpole. We'll be talking up and down about him, how he's going to change this season. You fucking idiot.
I call this the Chris Rucker rule. Remember when the team had 2 Chris Ruckers?
Yeah.
And one contributed actually meaningfully, and then the other one would actually show up only for spring games.
Yeah.
Then it was like, Chris Rucker. I don't remember which one was which, but it doesn't matter. That is the lesson of the Chris Rucker that we should all internalize of the spring game.
That's good.
What we're not going to do is stop talking about transfers, obviously, because unfortunately I'm a prisoner of a network that has to do 5 shows a week. No,
we will also talk about transfers here.
I love the Locked On Podcast Network. They treat me very well, but they will be talked about, but I will be pumping the brakes a little bit more than I have. And I already thought that I had to tone it down last offseason. This, I will be, both feet are on the same brake pedal for this one. I will tell you what the player is. I will tell you ideally what he's supposed to do. And check me on this, because I know I will break this rule too. I will try to stop myself short of saying, he will be an instant impact player. Try to do a better job of saying, here's how he could be an instant impact player. Here's the vision they have. Not, Vallian, he's going to be the best tight end since Josiah Price, and
well, maybe he would have been if we had an offensive line that Aiden Childs could have had protection and Aiden Childs could have found an open man. Who knows? Yeah. Brendan Pearcheck maybe lives up to his 4-star ranking at some point in time. Who's to say?
Oh God, you talk about being wrong on someone.
I was in on him too. We'll see. We're going to pick up an lot of offensive line.
His dad knows the Pythagorean theorem. I know that for certain.
Very good.
All right. Look, this has been a blast. Some other things. If you want to air your grievances, a place that you can do that safely is at Mama's Mercantile and Eatery in where is it? Clear Lake Road, off of I-94, exit 153. Look, the MSU Game Day specials. We have to check in and see if it's good for basketball games.
It is.
But look,
it is. Yeah.
All right.
It's actually double for basketball. A little
$3, but hey, Lions are still playing. You can get $3 domestics. You can get some buffalo chicken dip, hand beer battered onion rings. It's good food. Go check it out. Mama's Mercantile and Eatery. Truly, it is good food, and it's on the way to East Lansing. So check it out. Yeah. All right. Sheehan, do you want to get out of here?
Yeah, regrettably, because I have so much fun here. I really do, but. Unfortunately, I got to do some Cyber Monday shopping before midnight before all these deals end. So I'm a thrifty fella over here. Oh, Shutterfly.
What looks good?
Shutterfly. Nuclear missile sent their way by way of a credit card payment. So
I think I saw some Shutterfly happening in the other room. So yeah.
When in doubt, for the grandparents especially, we're gonna to Shutterfly. So
you can make a little book for Grandma June of everything that she missed in the second half of the Rutgers game, and then you can be like, "Oh, Grandma June, you abandoned the team. Look at what you missed." Rutgers,
all the good quotes from Aiden Childs after,
Yes.
Affirmation book.
And then Matt Sheehan gets the Grandma June updated will in January, and where Grandma June? Where? I don't see myself anywhere.
Strange. Surely this is not the copy that was supposed to be sent out to everyone. This is weird. What's going on here? No, that's a good idea. I like that. Also, Home Field Apparel. Got to shout them out too. Homefieldapparel.com. So
you got a promo code?
Chill. No, right now it's just their Black Friday sale. Oh no, so it's BFCM30 is their promo code right now until Tuesday. They're extending it one day. So.
Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Yeah,
30.
Got it.
Yep, you got. This is so embarrassing. I had no idea what the CM meant. You just told me for the first time. I knew Black Friday. I could not put the CNM together. This is the kind of quality of intelligence that you get when you have me on this show. It took me until that long. Man,
can't write.
Yeah, truly, we're the idiots. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Go green.
Go white, I guess. I suppose. I don't.
We're gonna continue doing this.
Who's ready for this 83-79 double overtime loss at Minnesota on Wednesday? It's going to be
fuck you.
Xavier Booker, 2 points. Jaden Akins, 3 of 18 shooting. It's
in the barn, too. You know it's going to happen.
This is a problem.
It's the most inevitable game that's going to happen. So.
I can't think of a coach that I've wanted to work out more than Ben Johnson. And
oh, my God. Same.
he seems legitimately like a great coach, and he's for sure getting fired this year.
Mike Jones hears one guy mic'd up on one BTN2 broadcast on like a Tuesday night, and he's just enamored for years. You lousy little. Anyway,
his teams play hard. They're bad, but they play really hard.
Comes in with good game plans, but unfortunately, like this little closet that I'm in right now is more well funded than the entire Minnesota basketball program. Like he's working with dirt out there.
If he gets fired, we should get rid of Woj, hire Ben Johnson as an assistant coach.
I will pay Woj's buyout single-handedly. I don't know how that works, but yes.
All right, go shop, Matt Sheehan. Good to see you.
You're the best, guys.
Bye, buddy.
Love you all.
I like this. For those that are listening on the podcast, you're not seeing it right now, but on YouTube, you'll see that we've got this like.
We are. I fixed that really fast. There we go.
Mike Jones has never been the tallest one in his entire life. This was his moment. This was his moment.
I feel like I need to turn the song on just to.
Oh, boy. All right, don't do it. We're at an hour.
All right, let's go. 2 things. Dan Hurley is the worst. Ryan Walters was fired. End of story. Greg, what do you got to say about Minnesota?
We just did the Minnesota preview. It's done. Basically, Dawson Garcia equals good. All other players equals bad, and it could be a tough game out there at the barn
for Minnesota.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, that's right. That's great.
All right. Next up, Twitter questions, which is Twitter questions / grievances. First up is Mike Jones with a grievance, I believe. 0 noon kicks for the entire season. Not that I want 12 of them, but give us at least a little bit of each slot. Fuck the schedule makers.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great take. And while we're here, I just wanted to thank him. He had number 33 up for us tonight.
Oh, I didn't have it in my box, so I went with 32, the purple Medusa that we had earlier when we were in your garage.
Yes, which was very delicious. And
I already had 33.
I already had 33. I've been sipping on it. It was delicious. It's got to be some sort of like vodka, I'm guessing. Some
flavored vodka is what I thought as well. Yeah.
Very smooth, very sippable. Highly liked it. We'll see if he gets back to us on what it was. We'll fill it in. Next up for Mike Jones. So why did I sit through that yesterday? Why did the wife sit through it with me?
She took it.
That's love.
That's love.
Yeah. She took an oath, Mike Jones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is the richer or poorer. This is the sickness or health.
Yep.
We have a sickness.
Very much.
Yes.
Next up, Ali, question. When Rutgers joined the conference in 2014, did you ever think we would lose to them?
Like on accident once, not like this.
When we lost in the COVID year, it was sort of LOL.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time that we had done it.
And I believe we were the only ones who had held on. No, Ohio State has surely held on.
Whatever it was, it hadn't happened yet, and other teams had. We're making a real habit of it at this point. That's the problem in all of this is there's a new hierarchy of the Big Ten emerging, and we're lower in it than I would care to admit or acknowledge.
Yeah. Well, and that brings us to Ali's grievance. Jesus fucking Christ, beating Rutgers regularly is the fucking minimum bar here. How can we allow ourselves to be dad dicked by them on fucking senior day? Unfucking believable. And that, my friends, deserves to stand all by itself because
it does.
Expertly worded. Next up, at Matty Ma. Grievance and question. Kevin Greck, why are some of our fans so butthurt about calling MSU football a bad product? Why do they accept mediocrity?
Hey, yeah, I do wonder if there is some value in a light pushing back, because if it is catastrophic on Twitter, I don't know if everyone that's listening to the podcast, it also exists in that space, but like the sky is falling right now on here, as they say. But at the same time, with the pushing back, there should be some acknowledgement that there is not a great deal to be excited about with this program right now. Nothing was demonstrated this season that was encouraging. And just because we're one game over what Vegas suggested should happen, half a game. Did you watch is the problem? It's like there were games that were in hand that were pissed away. And then, as Ali so eloquently put it, we just got absolutely manhandled by some teams that we're not in the habit of getting manhandled by. And I don't intend to get in the habit of being manhandled by. What was so great about Mark D'Antonio is that he established a baseline. He won the games that he was supposed to win. And then he grabbed a few that he wasn't supposed to. And that's my hope for Jonathan Smith, that he gets there at some point. But we're so far away from that right now that it needs to be acknowledged. And just because there are some other teams out there that are also struggling at football doesn't mean that we can't have a grievance episode. So I'm with you, Maddie. Meh. But at the same time, it is getting a little over the top with the sky fallingness that's happening over there.
All right.
And we try and do a good job here of being
balanced.
Right, like that
Fair and balanced, some have said.
There's a place where you can be critical without thinking things are end of world days, right? Like,
but we lived through John L. Smith. I mean, it's just not. We're not there.
I will say the contrast between blue sky discourse and Twitter discourse right now is wow. That levels, and so I don't know. There's reasons to if you watched, there are reasons to believe that it could be better, but there is a lot of facts and data to suggest that this is horseshit and may not get better. And you have to walk that tension. Yeah. And either person saying that it's one or the other is equally full of shit.
So at Stephen Whitaco with our next grievance, and Mike, I want you to take this because you like him. But his grievance is fans hating on Graham Couch. Although I'm not sure let's see I'm not sure how he meant to word it. Grievance, fans hating on Graham Couch. Do you hate the blue wall because of the blue part of the wall? Do you hate the blue wall because of the blue part or the wall part? I want honest coverage of MSU, not propaganda.
I think it's well said that the whole point is right. You can't be critical of the blue wall.
Right.
Because in the imperative in that is actually the wall. That is the thing that that's the thing you claim to be upset about.
Yeah.
But if maybe you just need to be more honest with yourself and say there's not a green wall, which we have an entire segment dedicated to. So come listen to us more. But well said. Again, Graham shouldn't have tweeted that. I want to be very clear. And he's not 1000% right on this.
It's also not the first. It's a joke that he's made before on Couch in the Rue, but it's in a different context.
He did it at the worst possible time.
Yes,
but that's the best possible time to do everything.
We're in a hurt people.
That's right.
Sort of environment right now.
Yes. Don't hold my anger against me from earlier, Graham. Or do. Fuck. All right. The question though from at Stephen Whitaco, and still I want to stick with you, Michael. Why hate Haller? Very successful. If football is your only priority, why don't you just cheer for your favorite NFL team?
Stephen, loved your first point, hate your second point. The point is that Alan Haller is the custodian of the entire athletic department. We should be demanding excellence in all of our sports. Go back to my scholarship question. What are we doing here, Alan? What's the point? And the problem with Alan, as is with Jonathan Smith, is talk to us. Sit down with Graham Couch and have a goddamn conversation. Or Crystal, I don't care who you talk to, but make it public. And for Alan Haller, the fact of the matter is that we are failing We might have the NIL dollars, but we are failing to maximize our NIL situation, and that is definitely attributable to him.
Yeah.
I don't, John Smith, who knows if he's going to be a good coach or not? Like,
no.
You can't, none of us could say that Jonathan Smith was not maybe the best name on the board at the time. Like, if we're being really honest about how we felt in the moment, he was probably the best name on the board.
Yeah.
So we were happy at the time.
Yep. Well, next up from Carpenter Jarrett. Well, actually, I think we all agree that the existing head coach was the best chance of that. But whatever. Why were a lot of?
Are you saying Mel Tucker?
No, I'm saying. But it's not a great bet. Anyway, next up from Carpenter Jarrett. Why were a lot of losses blowouts and not closer for football? Did John L. really have the talent similar to other Big Ten teams in 2006, but only Mark D could utilize it, going all the way back? Plum, as a historian,
that's hard. Time. Yeah, I was like that. I was going to throw that question to you because I honestly cannot. I was not paying enough attention to other Big Ten teams in 06, 05, 06, 07 to really answer that. Well, I guess not 07. He wasn't there then. Maybe.
I mean, his first year, there was a real stinker loss to Northwestern, if I remember correctly. 07. Yes, Northwestern at home, noon. Lost in overtime in front of 67,000 fans. But at the same time, did things that really opened eyes. 2 weeks later, he loses at Ohio State by a single touchdown. And then we have the game at home against Michigan. That's the whole little brother thing. And then 2 wins at Purdue and Penn State at home. So like there was a rising motion here. There was excitement. There was something that we were obviously building towards. Yeah. Even at that season, we ended up being 7-6 after losing to Boston College. That was the Matt Ryan Boston College. But there is none of that heat now, and that's the problem.
This will tickle your fancy too, though. That Mark D'Antonio also came in and eliminated penalties. Like college football, everyone is bad. Like if you start from the fundamental principle that all of these teams are truly bad, then eliminating mistakes is a massive competitive advantage.
It's discipline, which is why you hear me harp about what more than anything else in the basketball season. Well, free throws. It's the free money. Like Christ on a cracker. Take the free fucking money.
Isn't Christ the cracker?
In the Catholics, that's
Catholics. He's not one of those. He's a heretic.
What do you do for the body? What do you do for the body?
Oh, you don't want to know. You don't want to know, but it's King's Hawaiian.
Carpenter Jarrett is up next with the question. Yes.
Carpenter Jarrett, with their only grievance, in fact, of the evening, is that they wish MSU basketball would have Jay Bilas or Billis. Jesus, that was not coming out. Or Robbie Hummel do all their games. I don't know if I can co-sign Billis, but I like Robbie Hummel on the call.
I was going to say, 10-4 on Plum. I'm with you. Billis annoys the piss out of me sometimes.
The pissless out of you. All right. Next up.
Spartan. No, this Plum. Plum.
Okay.
From Spartan 18770. Why is our 19-year-old quarterback better at telling the team what to expect next year than the 45-year-old head coach?
Well, okay. Yes and no. Listen, I'm not giving any plaudits to Aiden Giles for whatever the fuck post-game interview that was, because it wasn't substantive and it wasn't meaningful. If you're going to come that hard against the fans, I don't know if I'm really going to take the mealy mouth bullshit you have about your teammates not working hard enough. And I didn't play hard enough either. And it feels bad. And it ain't going to happen again. See, shut up. You have $1 million and what did you calculate? $2,000 a minute he's out there playing football. Oh my God. So no.
And he's not even on the field for that entire time.
So anyway, but I will hold attention and say at least the 19-year-old did say something. And that is absolutely more than the shit we've gotten. And so that is where I'll just, again, circle back to appreciating Graham's column. I know I just kind of came for it a few minutes ago, but I really did appreciate his pointedness about the offseason. And we should demand to see some heads rolling on the coaching staff. We should see some players being kicked out of the program for whatever reason. I don't care. Make up a reason. And just some kind of something from Jonathan Smith to prove that he is indeed a living individual with feelings. So, all right. Spartan 18770's grievance, though. Why do we expect millionaires to fork over their money when fans, me included, won't even show up for the final game?
Okay. Let's not with this, because we need to, let's assume, pick your number, Spartan 18770, about how much it takes for someone to afford season tickets to Michigan State University and what their income level may be. And then ask yourself, what percentage of their income is that? And honestly, we're not even really talking about millionaires here, which I'd go so far as to say, depending on the level of millionaire you are, because there's I got $1 million in the bank for retirement, which is slightly different than like, I make $1 million a year. Very different situations. Mm-hmm. Yep. But we're talking about billionaires. And we've done the math on this podcast about the amount of money it would take for them to fund in perpetuity Michigan State University from a football roster perspective.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't blink. It
wouldn't affect them in any way. It wouldn't affect them. It wouldn't affect their children. It wouldn't affect their grandchildren. It would not affect a whole descendancy of children. So this idea that that any of these people are so aggrieved that you or I or anyone else is not contributing fucking money is the most pathetic, lonely piece of shit human being you could possibly be. Fuck billionaires. And you know what? If you're making $1 million+ a year, low-key, fuck you too. Anyway, next up, CV Bagel. As the years go by, I feel myself wishing I had lived in the moment more. We were in the Rose Bowls and playoffs, but that era is now roughly a decade behind us. Advice on dealing with nostalgia while also being hopeful that we can make it back within the next decade. For both of you. Brutal.
I think it is brutal, but you know what? I don't know. And I don't know if I lived it or I didn't live it, but I look back with great fondness on those days, and I loved them. I remember them. I didn't go to the Rose Bowl per se, but I remember watching all the games and cheering, particularly when we beat Iowa to get into my God.
LJ Scott reaches over,
reaches right over. So
I remember being in Tavern on Broad watching that and jumping like an idiot to the point that I almost got kicked out of the bar.
We will always be one of the first 4 teams to play in the college football playoff. That will always be a thing that we were there for. And that's just a beautiful, incredible thing. And yes, it would be lovely in the next 10 years. Fuck, it would be lovely if Tom Izzo could get another goddamn national championship. But I'm just grateful for it. And I think you can just hold gratitude. So maybe we just practice holding gratitude and,
Can we hold gratitude and also demand more? Can I be grateful that Tom Izzo has gotten us into the tournament every year, that I've never had to experience the feeling I'm feeling with as it relates to football in basketball? That's your advice.
That's your advice, CV, is hold the gratitude and demand more. Next up, verbose Dutch question, Mike Jones. What necessary but fiscally responsible, no giant statue looming over the stadium, example, improvement should MSU make to improve the football fan experience? No, this is for Kevin because he goes to the games.
Well, is
not
it
the last
in-person
one.
thing?
I do have to say he goes. I did not go to the last one. I have to eat crow on all the things that I said last year about the Penn State game. Here's what I would do. You know how there's a nice little flat roof to the Spartan Stadium addition on the west side. Yeah, do you remember Pirates? Do you guys remember Pirates? They had those nifty little things. They would take a board, they'd put them off the edge, the old walk the plank situation.
A gang plank is what you're describing?
A gang plank. You take Tunes by T at the spring game, who is the DJ for the stadium. You walk him up the steps. It's just one flight for Tunes by T. And you put the sword to his back and you make him walk the plank. He's got to go. The Spartan Stadium, as we understand it, may be in line in the near future for some upgrades. But the fan experience,
and we want to be very clear. We had that before other people reported it. We knew that. We knew, and I just want to be very clear. We knew that really fucking good. Anyway, go ahead. Because I know that report that came out in a big article, but we had that.
We knew it.
It's public now.
Harns's article made reference to the improvements to the sides of the stadium that we talked about a few weeks ago.
Oh my God.
Well, we made a snide reference to it a few weeks ago. We didn't actually.
Very veiled. Very veiled.
We maybe too vague. So huge mistake. We should have gone a little bit more into that.
All right. Well,
but the fan experience, truly,
That's
how many more times can we be like told to make some noise?
Yeah, it
How
is.
many times can I hear the 300 thing with the hua? The students don't even know what that's.
They don't know what it is. And that's the 12 students that are actually coming up. No, it's a great point. Unfortunately, that wasn't Verbose Dutch's grievance. It was this. I'm tired of the irrational, soft, and constantly whiny, loud minority. Some have no resolve or sense.
Verbose, we think you have a ton of sense and you raise good points, but I go back to this online sort of war of camps thing is insane.
Yeah,
like,
get off Twitter. Join us on Blue Sky, buddy.
He is, but
very good.
There are very valid things to complain about as it relates to I keep saying it. Jonathan Smith, Alan Haller.
Stop it.
But
do better, Michael Jones.
Yeah, truly do better. Anyway, next up after Verbose Dutch is Spartan Graduates.
Hey,
I feel like we've turned into the Lions of the Big Ten, and not in a good way. What is it going to take to get good recruits to East Lansing? We can't just rely on the portal and hope for the best.
Dan Campbell. You need Dan fucking Campbell. And also, sorry, Verbose, we are following one another on Blue Sky. I am an idiot. All right.
And how?
I
money.
don't know.
Is it the answer? Money. You get good recruits by money.
But we keep being told that the money's there, and also
it clearly isn't.
Okay, well,
but we had the conversation off air about let's name names. Jordan Hall. Jordan Hall is being paid to perform at a first or second team Big Ten level,
right?
And you can track things in his life to tell he's being very well compensated.
Yep.
And he might be a very good football player, but he is not that level of a football
mention.
player.
Well,
like,
if you had money,
is he even an honorable mention?
Yeah, I mean, if you have money, invest in the best fucking offensive lineman you can get. Just invest the fuck out of offensive linemen. If you really believe that Aiden Childs is the shit, then give him all the fucking coverage you need. Go so deep on offensive line. Fuck secondary. Fuck the defense. Just score. Make points happen.
We do need to acknowledge a conversation we had because we lost an offensive lineman who started out at Alabama this year. Right, like we need to acknowledge that on this podcast we said, because Gino Vandemark entered the portal in December, and then came back, and then entered again after spring ball, and Jonathan Smith clearly made an executive decision as it relates to people who did that. No, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah,
and we co-signed on that at the time. Like Well, I don't know that Jonathan Smith was wrong on that. Like some of this stuff, some of the criticisms, we do need time to tell whether the answer was right or not. I don't know. But like we had a contributor on the offensive line who's playing on a team that inexplicably is in a playoff conversation. But like is still in a playoff conversation.
We want 3 lost Bama. Next up from Marie, are you most excited or hopeful about what are you most excited or hopeful about for this basketball season? Plum.
Yeah, I think fears. Can anyone develop into a passable 5? Does Jaden Akins get his rhythm? I guess those are the things. I always come hardest for the people that I love the most. And honestly, Jaden Akins is a likable guy, but he's just so freaking disappointing. So I'm going to be hopeful about him. Oh, that feels very saccharine for me.
The defense is been good, but I'm hopeful that the 3-point shooting comes back around. Update: we are 363rd in the country in 3-point.
Woo! Up one. Next up from Eve Marie Grech. What are your thoughts on people saying Alan Haller needs to be fired?
I mean, I think Alan Haller knows that you are measured by your football hires as an athletic director, and the jury's still out on this one, Alan. It doesn't look spectacular at the moment, but Alan Haller, as hard as we've gone for him, has made some really good hires in other areas, and he is a Spartan at the end of the day. He wore the jersey. So
it's the NIL that's more concerning than the hire, right? Like, in 1 year, it's unfair to judge Jonathan Smith as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the other shit that I blame Jonathan Smith and Alan Haller for.
Which, maybe this is the time to announce it, to establish myself once and for all as the stupid one on the podcast. I have Spartan NIL up in a tab, and I am going to contribute.
Oh, God. All right. Good for you. Next up.
You got to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Lord.
What are the holes in the hand called? Is that the stigmata?
Yes. Good job, you.
Thank you for putting it back.
I expect to see that later from the cross climbed up on.
Let's get his ass off that cross real fucking fast before something burns down. Okay, next up, Beppe Plum. This is a great one. Watching a great movie beginning only to see Tom Cruise or Jack Black is the equivalent of walking into Catch Your Wife with Johnny Spirit. Anyway, Tom Cruise has a tooth in the dead center of his face. His midline is mad whack. He doesn't care about fans. Now you know.
His midline.
A tooth in the middle of his face. Oh my God. I read this when you were on the last question, and that's why I laughed. I don't even know what to do with that. Thank you, Beppe. I hope that's not a grievance, because that's just beautiful.
Is that what Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is in reference to?
His tooth is the plumb line. Oh my God.
Dead Reckoning to the middle. Oh my God. Okay. That's an old timer.
All right. Next up, Stupidest Shardy. So you got to follow that one. We've been told by people, presumably in the know, that our NIL is competitive. Michael, when will we see that come into fruition? 3 straight losing football seasons and 1 Sweet 16 in 4 seasons.
You're on mute, idiot.
Yeah, I'm muted.
I was laughing too hard. We've been talking about it. Zoom call. We've been talking about it. They're clearly paying the wrong people.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. They've overcommitted to a quarterback who at any other legitimate program would be sitting. Mm-hmm. They're overpaying a linebacker who couldn't beat out Cal Halladay for snaps. Yep. Like, they're just paying the wrong people. And I don't know whose fault that is. And that maybe is a place where you give Jonathan Smith a bit of bandwidth. You don't know what promises were made, and he did need to get a quarterback because his entire room did leave. I don't know.
It's not just football. Tom Izzo's paying a 7-footer a lot of money to just remember in the last game against Northwestern that he's a 7-footer, which we appreciate. But to answer your question directly, Stupidest Shardy, it's all changing now that, as I've announced, I'm going to contribute to NIL personally. So this is the turning point.
Next up,
reckoning.
At
what? What is it? I'll get my
Benzabon.
wallet. God damn.
All right. All right. At Benzabon. Hey, Benny. Who from the crew is participating in the feats of strength? Who would you choice as your opponent? Airing of grievances? Feats of strength?
Jonesy.
Is it Spartan NIL?
It's impossible to find by Google. You have to actually put SpartyNIL.com into your, because it is not search engine optimized.
Are we not even answering their questions anymore?
Get HubSpot and Jesus, get SEO'd. Anyway, look, Bizabob or whatever.
Benzabon. It's Benzabon. It's Ben Kowalczyk. Everyone knows him and loves him. And how dare you? How very dare you?
Look, I don't know. Greg is very tall. Alex has a personal trainer.
I'm also angry. Don't forget that.
And yes, he has that.
And Jonesy has protein shakes.
So who's to say?
Who's to say? It'll be unpleasant anyway, all the way around. All right, next up at Green Lion 5x5. This is the first time we've heard from this person. So thank you, because that's great that you're with us.
And Benzabon, I believe, is the first time too.
Ben's been with us before.
We've got a number of new questioners, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, love it. All right, well, welcome Green Lion 5x5. If O linemen, don't generally transfer, I wonder if that's true. But
that's
if
the
true,
conventional wisdom.
Okay,
yes.
If true, our recruiting and NIL are bad. Plus, O linemen usually take a while to adjust to college. What are the realistic expectations for the next few years? OL doesn't improve next year. I see Giles transferring. Could unravel quick for Jonathan Smith regime.
Would Giles transferring really unravel the regime? I don't know.
Imagine Giles is getting paid $1 million out of a $10 million budget. Just imagine, for the sake of argument, imagine it's more than that he gets paid out of a smaller budget, just for the sake of argument. That's a lot of money that you could put in other players who could make a difference, and we've seen it be successful at other places like Arizona State, where we talked about.
Alabama won a lot of national championships with quarterbacks that would not be making the most NIL money on the team.
Look at what Georgia did with what's his face?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's his face?
So anyway, look, we think that they're probably going to pick up 4 offensive linemen in the transfer portal, but thank God, because we are young. We're young and thin at that position next year. Next up, Jay Kwang. Sorry, I Googled how to pronounce that before and I forgot.
Well, it could be, someone is highlighting it, so you're missing the I. It could be Ji Kwang.
Oh, sorry. I did miss the, anyway, social media has empowered too many middle-aged losers. This feels targeted.
Yeah. 100%.
Too many middle-aged losers. We really have 40 and 50-year-old men. God damn it. Raging at 18 to 21-year-old kids as if they were doing better at their age. It's fair to criticize performances, but stop throwing tantrums online like you're 5. Wow.
All right. Heard. Thank you. Received.
We don't throw tantrums online. We throw tantrums here. Thank you.
Thank you
we
very
record
much.
our tantrums and then we publish them online.
Yes.
It's very different.
But it's really us, and you see our faces. So if you're watching on YouTube, so
we look great for middle age.
We look great. We're really great, and we should be more ashamed of it, but we're not. So
and none of
there's
us
something
are
for that.
40 or 50. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
we're below that.
All right. So this moment of introspection furthered for us. Why are the fans so reactionary? We knew it was going to be a rebuild year with a difficult schedule and an injury-ridden roster. 5-7 isn't a great record, and there were major crash outs. But the players are young and will learn.
There were a couple games that they should have won, and I think that's what's really frustrating. And then we were promised by Jonathan Smith that they would be playing their best football at the end of the year, and they clearly
are not.
We're so far from that. And the places we didn't have. Sorry, we didn't have injuries at the either line at the end of the year that would indicate, like, you can't be like, well, we got beat up on the offensive line. Like, stop. stop with that. Anyway, sorry, Greg.
He also promised an identity in all 3 phases of the game, and I couldn't tell you for the love of
what it is,
what that identity
what any
would
of them
be.
are. Where's the identity other than you can count on Childs for the first drive of the game and then goodbye. That's it. That's the identity.
It's the demoralizing nature of the losses, I think.
I think that's right. Because if we're 7-5, even with 5 demoralizing losses, I'll take the 7-5. 7-5 feels completely different. Bowl game, first season. It's got the Mark D'Antonio upswing. Better for the recruits. You're going to keep more guys in the seats. It's the way you lost. It's the way you fucking lost the 7. Oh. All right. Last up, statement. I'm really excited Aiden is over the fan base. It's amazing growth for him to learn this lesson. He can't please everyone. I hope he can focus on himself and the team and find a path to better himself and be that NFL level quarterback we know he can. Go Team Giles and Marsh.
Look, here's the thing. There's a way to answer the question, which is to say that, look, I want to win like the fans, but I'm really focused on the voices that are in the building.
Correct.
And so that's what I'm going to focus on. Instead of saying, I don't give a shit about the fans. It's a Plum. I'm going to, you said it more directly, but it's an artfulness thing.
Yep.
It's a maturity thing. It's a reading the goddamn room on what derives your value is us. We derive your value.
May I just add in all of this, G, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We really
They've asked
appreciate
questions before.
the question. You get some traction on Twitter going. You also on October 4th tweeted holiday ... So it seems like we can go after players ourselves sometimes. And isn't that a little interesting?
I want to make a quick note, especially for folks who don't engage with us every week. We don't generally do receipts, so I want to apologize in advance to Jiquan because
it's been an episode.
It's really been an episode. But what I appreciate about Jiquan, and I'm just going to say this because I think almost each one of their points you could very much say was the antithesis of everything I've done and said today. But I will say this. I appreciate it. It's a counter narrative, and it's not fully off the mark. I think there is some truth to all of it. I think we've spun our parts of it, but I do appreciate this. This is clearly an individual who raised by parents that really loved them dearly and meaningfully, and we can all apprate.
Thank you. But also at the same time, you did tweet about Cal Holiday specifically. So
all right, next up, Kevin Greg taking the fucking last word. All right, next up, Dale Heasy. Giving it back to Kevin here. Our football team has shown no grit, no will to win, or just fighting them all year. What gives us any reason to think that will change going forward?
That's great. That's very well said, Dale. That might be, as so often happens, our Twitter questioners sum up better than we do our feelings. I think that is ultimately the most frustrating thing.
So hold on to your anger. Mike Jones, last up from Dale Heasy. We looked like our coach was a mediocre pack coach all year. Finesse team that crumbles when punched in mouth.
I think I said it. We need to start asking questions about the Pac-12 being a legitimate conference in the first instance.
Well, it's not. It fell apart. It doesn't exist anymore. So
right, but we respected it at a point in time as if it was a major conference, as if being in the Rose Bowl was special because the Pac-12
do you remember the year where
special.
They sent only their conference champion to the NCAA tournament? There were signs. There really
Do you remember how you could only get the Pac-12 network on a refrigerator TV? That is a second shout out to Will Hunter, who is like, "Oh, I found the Pac-12 network on my refrigerator TV." So
just beautiful. Michael, this was a point you made earlier, I believe. MZA asks, should I stop caring about football? Also, what does Haller do besides being a patsy for the Big Ten?
I'm gonna defer to Greg on the latter part of that, but I will say,
was that Greg's point? Damn it! Sorry,
we shouldn't stop caring about football. I'll say this as it relates to Haller and generally athletics at Michigan State. We can do all of them. I think there's a limit to how much we can finance these things, which again, I go back to, what are we doing here? But let's not pretend that football isn't one of the things that we're going to fucking fund here.
Yeah.
So So what are we doing in football is, you should care about it. We should be competing for national championships. That's the goal. And if you're not doing that, then what are you doing here? Like, stop. If that's not the goal, then stop. And if you say, well, we're not funding at $20 million, okay, well, give me the plan then to ramp up our roster and our production to like get to a point where you get fan engagement where you can maybe hit that $20 million mark, the Ohio State mark. But like, I understand for right now we're not doing that, but like clearly we're fucking competing here. Yeah. Anyway, Greg, I'll defer to you on the like, what does he do besides being a patsy? I mean, he's made good hires elsewhere.
Yeah. He's made good hires, and we know that he watches Family Feud when I'm sitting in traffic. Next up,
Freilich is 6 in the net. He made a women's basketball hire who has done more in the net than what's her face did. Susie
Merchant, yeah.
Ever. Anyway.
Yeah. Next up from Beth, question, and we'll send this to you, Plum, because we know this is where
Beth.
Go. What's most challenging about putting out a new podcast? Oh, I'll send this not to. He doesn't know. Jonesy, we'll send this to you. What's most challenging about putting out a new podcast every day or week? Are there times you just don't want to do it?
You mean every week?
Beth, I will say, I think there's a few things that are challenging. One is getting Plum to commit to a date and time. But I think we probably would all agree, while we're generally speaking all really happy to see each other, that this isn't how we would interact in a phone call with each other.
Well, we've done the Green Wall for years now, and we've also done off Grand River. So,
but there is definitely a performative nature to this, and sometimes it's exhausting, and sometimes you've had a bad day before this, and you need to be here and be present and pretend like you didn't have a shitty day. Yeah. And so I think for me, that's and baking in all of the work that goes into outlining for the podcast and researching in advance, like it's not zero work. Like I sent these jabronis a text on Thanksgiving to say that I was thankful that I have an excuse to talk to them every week. It's a fuck ton of work to make that excuse happen, though. So I will say that.
But we
worth
make
it? Question mark.
We make ones and ones of dollars to bring this to you guys every month.
Yeah. So hey, billionaires,
awesome.
You're not funding NIL. Come fund us.
Fund us. All right. Beth's grievance. Beth says, going full petty here. Don't know if I can ever forgive Jay Smith for caring more about the Dodgers than the game during hate week. Unacceptable.
This is Beth. This is the petty that I was looking for.
This is the take. This is the take.
You win.
Yeah. Next up from Caleb Crouch. Guys, I'm sick and tired of wimpy MSU fans. We complained about a lot. Granted, there's a lot to complain about. We were told JCS would build MSU slow and correctly, and we cheered. But as soon as the going gets tough, we want to be Indiana. CJS is the coach, and we get to see if his philosophy works.
No, stop.
It's bad framing.
You can't do this. Because Greg already outlined the comp. The comp has Mark D'Antonio, which I believe went 6-6 in his first season.
No,
7-5.
No, that's not the comp. No. You're all doing it wrong. The comp is Jonathan Smith. Jonathan Smith is the comp. Jonathan Smith told us what the comp was at the beginning of the season. He said, we'll be playing our best football at the end of the season. He said, I'll define 3 phases of football. He said, I will define progress by progress by progress, week after week after week. We didn't get shit of it. Jonathan Smith is the comp. So, Jonathan, okay, let's see if his philosophy works. No, by definition, his philosophy has not worked the whole season. There is no philosophy. So my point is, you got to be, if you're going to have a philosophy, the fucking thing better work at the outset. Tell me that in 10 years, you'll be playing your best football. Don't tell me by the end of the season when they've clearly regressed. So the framing is wrong here.
And like, we need to see if he's got that mercenary in him, right? Like, because clearly the offensive line was not good. And that included 3 seniors on the offensive line. They're all gone. So you gonna go out recruit the kids you got in the program, because you're gonna need to.
100%. All right, next up, Jordan Villarreal. U of M players saying some people got to learn how to lose after the scenes in Columbus Saturday is the same bad sportsmanship and lack of accountability we saw by little bro stay doing little bro things when they instigated both fights. Seems like some people got to learn how to win.
Yeah.
Well said.
They sure do seem to find themselves in this position an awful lot against a bunch of different teams in others in different sports as well. It's really interesting how often this happens.
This is
to
a team,
the leaders and best.
I mean, this is a team that just won the national fucking championship. Let's ignore that they cheated their way through the season. They just won the national. I mean, win a game with a fucking you are a national championship team. You needed to go plant a flag on an opponent's turf to what? Prove that you're what? What exactly are you doing and trying to? You just won the national championship. Can you just sit in your own leaders and best glory for 5 fucking minutes without needing to piss down the front of yourself? Daddy, love me. Just shut the fuck up. They is so exhausting.
Can we also talk about Gus Johnson and his call?
No.
Did we all hear the I didn't cheat this time? Yeah.
Not strong enough. Unstrong enough.
And Michigan, but the funny thing is Michigan fans saying that he's a simp for the Buckeyes. Homer.
Yeah.
Because Big Noon has covered them like 12, which by the way, do you know what they did last year? They covered Michigan 12 fucking times. Yeah. And we all know Gus Johnson blew Sharon Moore on the court side in the Michigan State basketball game.
Yep. Next up from Jordan, my grievance isn't unique to MSU. I miss the old days of opposing teams' bands taking the field before games. We'll never forget 10-year-old me proudly standing and saying victory for MSU in the big house over booze surrounded by U of M fans. That is part of football and a core memory. We are depriving our youths. Yes. When Tunes by T walks the plank, Spartan Marching Band gets a much bigger role for me. There's just the in-stadium experience is so lousy in so many different ways. And I agree. The pageantry of the marching band needs to be better embraced.
Bring it back. Here for it. All right. Next up, Munfield Keg. Question. I loved the wins over Michigan in 2020 and 21, and the Peach Bowl trip I made was awesome. But would Brett Bielema and his Moo have been the better choice for MSU? He would have probably brought stability and 7-5 teams to MSU. Or is it just in MSU's nature to be a feast/famine program?
I do think if we're talking like Excel terms, MSU might have the widest error bars of any program in the conference, of like the highest highs and the lowest potential lows. So I think that's fair. The problem is you take Bert and then you have to look at him all of that time. Can you imagine?
You've got to spend more on fabric, which you can't spend on NIL.
Correct. Yes. Correct. The Moo is great. Grievance here from Munfield Keg. I know their NIL was kind of disorganized until recently, but it always seems like Michigan alumni mobilize when needed to get behind their propaganda and messaging. Big-time MSU donors always seem scattered and not united behind MSU. They do not seem to have the same love for MSU. I disagree with that. I think Michigan infights and cannibalizes itself more than anyone. We certainly have our own history of doing that, and we're great at it ourselves. But I mean, we saw Michigan really struggle at football for a really long time because of their infighting and their cannibalizing. And the greatest hope is that it continues to happen. Like when you ratchet up this much money in NIL, I can see everything start to fall apart all over again. I think they lucked out last year.
Can we also acknowledge that they had a horny 80-year-old that was an Illinois grad who wasn't going to contribute money unless there was someone else who was going to put up money. And it took Dave Portnoy talking about it publicly for them to like, that wouldn't have happened but for Dave
the intervention of a random
and like so I mean, I guess good for them. I hope they have the Child's experience.
Someone deserves it.
but that's not our NIL woes. Next
All right.
up is whom?
Joe Ashworth.
Joe Ashworth. Plum, where would you most like to plant a flag? The only limit is your imagination, but keep in mind that you're likely to get punched in the face for doing so. Well, then actually you can do anywhere you want, but you're going to get punched, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. Yeah. I don't know. Whoever the Michigan player was that had the comments after he kicked our guy in the face, probably right up in his ass. Right up in his ass would be great. Or I'll flag up the ass.
Who's the Clayton Safarth or whatever? Who's their real slappy? Can you just plan on him?
Yeah, straight in the chest. Next up from Joe, my grievance is MSU fans dwelling on negatives. We knew the MSU football team was a rebuild. Recruiting and NIL hit rock bottom last year. The problem, Joe, is that we keep being told that it isn't, but then also that it is. And there hasn't been depth or experience at key positions since the D'Antonio era. I challenge each and every Spartan to find something positive to celebrate.
Let's focus on that part.
Jace Richardson is my positive. I celebrate Jace Richardson. What is this?
I'm celebrating.
Here's my positive. We have billionaires for whom that errant spending does not matter, so they could continue to contribute. There's no rock bottom for billionaires.
There you go, and that's a positive.
Jonesy and I have both opened SpartyNIL.com, which you do have to go directly to in our browsers, and we will be contributing because we want to be the change. We are the change that we want to see in the world. Next up from Joe, next up from Raymond. I don't think MSU will likely finish in dead-ass last place in the Big Ten Conference anytime soon, but I absolutely think we might, or be there or near there as an overall program. It's been 3 years since even a bowl game. We can't maintain a healthy roster ever, and we aren't showing the ability to recruit for depth. Yes, any lower and you fire your coach is what Purdue showed us. I'm with you. Like, this is some of the lowest lows that we've seen. I'm with you.
Yeah, and follows it up with, based on this season, we don't owe Jonathan Smith any trust. Jonathan Smith's one bona fide as head coach was that he improved Oregon State in the dead Pac-10. That's one more than Tucker, but we just ended 5-7. I'm going to asterisk this and just add a little perspective in favor of Jonathan Smith, that he went 5-7 in the Big Ten, the expanded and better Big Ten with one of the tougher schedules in the Big Ten. His first year at Oregon State, he went 1-11. Mm-hmm. So he's doing better.
All right. This week, Raymond says in Spartan Nation, Governor Whitmer threatens to send in the National Guard to improve MSU's conditioning and team discipline. The governor also offers to send in a unit of military police officers to protect U of M from Penn State, OSU, MSU, and all the other teams that have bullied Maize and Blue. Role models of sportsmanship and decorum. Maize and Blue, the role models of sportsmanship and decorum. Izzo makes another offer to buy out Jonathan Smith's contract and take over MSU football duties. So apparently this episode was written by Hondo. This gives the board of trustees pause. No reports on MSU hockey because no one could afford $100 tickets to see MSU play Lindenwood, or as we called them, Lindwood or Linden, whatever. Longwood, whatever it is. Yes, same bit. It's the same bit.
Lynn Diane Wood.
Next up, Thomas Zambiasi. Legitimately, who should I be worried about facing in men's basketball? The projected top of the conference looks extremely okay at best. That is exciting and true.
Yeah, and true.
Yeah, and also worth calling out that, like, we have a chance to have a little bit of a winning streak going here. If you can go win at the barn, then you get Nebraska at home, you get Oakland in Detroit, you get Florida Atlantic, you get Western. Like, it's possible we don't see another basketball loss until the end of the year. Possible.
Be great. Last up from Thomas Zambiasi. Any serious moves to improve fan experience would bring back dairy store sandwiches and strap heaters to seats before ever thinking about luxury accommodations, to be honest. Got some bad news for you, buddy.
The opposite direction is the direction that they're going.
Jerry
Next up,
Store sandwiches. Just want to second that one. I've been a long proponent, Thomas, as you may recall.
next from Mike Fisher. Why is the Block S still in the logo rotation? This is spicy.
This is a
At
someone who
least
really
now
hates
it's on
tradition.
both sides of the helmet instead of the
Yeah.
perless nonsense. I will accept that as a improvement,
All right.
and part of the rotation is acceptable. But one side that is really reinforcing they can't
Listen,
read,
if he
right?
wants the
So-
cursive S, I get it. I love the cursive S. Bring me the old timey cursive S. Next up, Momopoly. Good God, Susan, one grievance with 12 freaking bullet points. I'm
It's a
fully. Oh, okay. I'm gonna read it then. All right. One grievance. There once was a team with a dream, but they couldn't come up with a scheme or how to improve the efforts of coaches and players or to find donors with millions and millions of favors. And now there's no more need this season to utter go green. Well, work on your meter there, Susan. But we love a limerick. We love a limerick. And her question for you, Kevin: how many overtimes are too many to play for a college football game to come to an end?
Is this a Georgia reference? Is it Georgia went 8 overtimes?
Whatever it is, the answer is never too many. But the overtime rules have gotten really dumb also. In all football, all of the football leagues have dumb overtime rules.
It's good.
So finally, from the Upper Deck Jerk guy, why Matt Sheehan? And then there's a picture that apparently we're going to describe.
It's a picture of Matt Sheehan. Who cares? Because Matt Sheehan is nice and kind and a blast to hang out with. And it's mostly for us and not for you jabronis, but he's also great for you jabronis.
And we got him to use swear words today, which I just love when people use the swears.
Yep. Last up from Upper Deck Jerk guy, we need a Duffy and players of that era statues around Spartan Stadium.
Okay. That'll fix it. That'll fix all of it.
On one hand, I like the acknowledgement, and a number of them have been acknowledged in the Ring of Honor. And the other, like, haven't we learned maybe not statues is the move? Maybe not.
Yeah. Gentlemen, it's been an episode. And actually, honestly, while long, I've had a blast. So this was more fun than a lot of what we did this weekend.
Yay!
So with that, I will say a resounding go green.
Go white.
Go white!